This lecture is about a type of specific immunity called cell-mediated immunity. And in cell-mediated immunity, the major players are the helper T cell and the cytotoxic T cell. So in cell-mediated immunity, the first thing that has to happen, unfortunately, is that you have to get infected. So here you have a pathogen, and on this pathogen, you have antigens, right? So this is a pathogen, right? Remember, pathogen is a disease-causing agent, and on the surface of this pathogen, you have antigens. After you've been infected, then you have a specific type of white blood cell called a macrophage. Okay. And this macrophage kind of patrols the area, if you will. And this macrophage is going to eat this pathogen. The cool thing about this macrophage is that after it eats this pathogen, it's going to display the antigens of that pathogen on its surface. And it's going to display these antigens on its surface on something called a major histocompatibility complex. Major histocompatibility complex. In humans, we call this HLA, right? Human leukocyte associated antigen. So when this macrophage eats this pathogen, again, it displays the antigens of that pathogen on its surface on a major histocompatibility complex called the human leukocyte associated antigen. Once those antigens have been displayed, the first lymphocyte that comes in contact with this macrophage will be this cell right here. This is called a helper T cell. And the helper T cell, right, you can see that it has a specific shaped receptor that'll bind to this specific shaped antigen. So these two things will bind. When that happens, right, the binding of the helper T cell to the antigen stimulates the macrophage to release a cytokine. Right, called interleukin 1. Right. And that cytokine acts upon the helper T cell. And that cytokine stimulates helper T cells to multiply in number, but it also stimulates the helper T cell to release another substance, another cytokine, called interleukin 2. And interleukin 2 attracts other types of lymphocytes. And since we're talking about cell-mediated immunity, the lymphocyte that interleukin 2 is going to attract is a lymphocyte called a cytotoxic T cell. So you can see that this cytotoxic T cell has a specific receptor that fits the shape of that particular antigen. Okay. Interleukin 2 attracts cytotoxic T cells, but it also stimulates cytotoxic T cells to proliferate. proliferate means to increase numbers. In other words, your body is trying to raise an army to fight a war. So we're going to draw a few cytotoxic T cells. And we are going to multiply these cytotoxic T cells here. Right. We're going to increase their numbers. All right, just like that. Okay. Right. So some of these cytotoxic T cells won't go to battle at this point in time. We call these memory T cells. And these memory T cells will become activated the next time this pathogen enters the body. Then there are these cytotoxic T cells that will go into battle. Right? So these are just cytotoxic T cells. So when a cytotoxic T cell, right, encounters a pathogen, so let's draw the pathogen. Right. That cytotoxic T cell's receptor will bind to that antigen, and this binding will stimulate the cytotoxic T cell to release a substance that'll adhere to the membrane of that pathogen. We call this substance perforin. And as the name implies, perforin is going to perforate or create a hole in that cell membrane. So what happens is, as that cell membrane has a hole, right? So here's the hole to the cell membrane. Fluid is able to rush in, and this causes the cell, the pathogen, to burst.